I skipped one. So we're recording. It's a wonderful November 10th. We have turned back the clocks, which I despise greatly. I don't need sun in the morning. I need sun in the evening.
If I could turn back time.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. Welcome, everyone. It's another glorious day. I mean, it is sunny outside. My little window's throwing some light into this room, but you know, I not a fan of the turning back the clocks an hour.
It might
Really
be
don't.
sunny where you are, but it's overcast where I am, and we may even actually get some of that stuff that falls from the sky today.
Ooh, is it the clear stuff or the white stuff?
Well, that's a filthy thought. But yeah, I've forget. It's been so long since it happened. I have honestly forgotten what it's called.
Okay.
Rain, I think. Though that
Okay.
that that doesn't sound right. I mean, I know what Rain is. Rain is a Beatles song. But I don't really know what the hell it was that they were talking about in that song. It was a little confusing. It was one of their psychedelic songs, so they could have been talking about God knows what.
Um,
Probably drugs.
and depending what drugs they were doing when they were,
At that point, definitely LSD.
you know, writing that song, performing that song, recording that song, who knows?
Yeah, it was LSD.
And that stuff takes you on a trip of its own.
Or as Captain Kirk said in Star Trek 4, LDS.
LDS. Mm. There was a one of those old Star Trek movies was on the other day. I think it was The Search for Spock. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Someone wants to join our group this morning, everybody.
Well, you don't have to let them if you don't want to. I mean, it's entirely up to you.
I mean, shall we let them in?
I guess
Is
he
the
does
key.
add something to the show, so I guess we'll have to.
You know what? We should track this. Does it make our ratings go up when it's all three of us, or are the ratings better when it's just us two? I wonder.
I think that is something worth tracking.
We need
But
to
then we'll
find
have to
out.
have the hard conversation with him, be like, Jeremy, we're gonna have to let you go. You're just a ratings drog. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Oh, I'll let them in. I'll let them in. Oh, oh, that slimy, ugly green is on my screen right now. Mm-mm-mm. So
Uh,
pu so putrid that color green is.
well, you know what the funny thing is? Obviously, I hate the Eagles,
Yes,
but
being a Giants fan, of course.
of course, but I prefer the old Eagles Kelly green like that to the kind of I call it forest green that they've been wearing for like the last couple decades now at this point. There's just something about that green that they wear now that looks worse to me. That's just me. But I mean, I don't know. I guess because it's like darker, like it's blacker in a way, it also to me looks a little bit more pukish.
Hmm.
That's just me.
I
I don't want to
mean,
go on about the Eagles green. See, the other thing, of course, I have a predisposition against green for sports uniforms because green was the primary color of my high school.
ah,
And of course, I hated my high school. So,
you know.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, my high school colors were black and gold. So,
Well, that's cool. Black and gold is a cool combination. Mine were green and white, which sounds kind of pussy-ish. Not that I want to go play like the masculine cards in sports here and shit, but it's like it is.
yeah, and our mascot, our our school, my high school's mascot was the Patriots. So
So now that's interesting. Black and gold color combo, nickname Patriots. I would
yes,
not think that those two go together. That's not just because, like, the New England Patriots wear like red, white, blue, and silver and everything.
correct.
It's just I don't think I've ever encountered a really like any team that I can think of on like a certainly on a college or pro level, but even really on like a high school level, except for what you just said, where a team had a nickname of Patriots and had a black and gold color scheme. So the other thing too is like our nickname was Green Knights.
Yeah,
And while
buddy.
like the Green Knight is a figure from mythology and everything, like Arthurian and everything, it's like Green Knight just sounds again kind of weak. Now
Hmm.
I look at Army. What's Army's nickname? The Black Knights. That sounds cool. Green Knight sounds kind of wimpy.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Green
So
Knights.
yeah.
Well, your school is, I think, playing. They won the district title, I believe.
No, they didn't.
Not the, no, didn't they? Who did
No.
they lose to?
They got into the district playoffs somehow, which was funny considering that they finished with the losing record. That's the way the districts are up here anymore, I guess. They
Yeah.
won their first game. They beat Northern Lehigh, which
Yes.
boggled my mind. I just couldn't believe how the hell they did that because they had just lost to Bangor the week before, and Bangor hadn't won a fucking game until that game. And then they got killed by whatever team it was they played on Friday night, which, hey, again, the fact that they qualified for the playoffs with a losing record and then beat a team that they probably shouldn't have beaten, hey, power to you, whatever. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's funny, I forgot to look up high school scores in this area on Friday night. So when I went to go see a movie with my dad yesterday, he told me that how Easton lost to Emmaus, and Easton was the higher seed.
Ooh, good.
And I just said, oh, well, that's okay. Now they can just focus on beating Phillipsburg on Thanksgiving because the Easton people always seem to value that more than actually winning like a state championship because they're fucking stupid.
Yeah, something's flipped with them where they rather beat Phillipsburg in the rivalry game during
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
I'm
than
just
worry about a
like,
state championship.
come on. Yeah, okay. I understand that you're rivals and everything, but they're also Phillipsburg. I
I
worked
have
in Phillipsburg.
I
I
have
know
no
what Phillipsburg is.
I no comment. No comment. Um
Yes. Now, so for those of you who don't know, the general consensus always and stereotype about Phillipsburg, New Jersey, is that a term applies to it that if you were to post it on Facebook, you would immediately get flagged for using hate speech. Um, but the term that I'm thinking of, it rhymes with blight rash. And yes, you will get
Have we
banned out.
officially
You will
started
get
this thing,
you
by
will
the way?
get comments flagged on Facebook if you post that term. I know, I've done it. Yet you can still very easily get away with using any number of racial and ethnic slurs on Facebook. So fuck Facebook.
okay, okay.
But
Um
if you say blight rash, oh no, oh my God.
Blight Rash. I have so many things I can use Blight
But you're
Rash
quite
for.
brash, I must say.
So we have started, Jeremy.
All
And
right, good. I'm glad I joined late.
and then when you popped up, we let you linger for a little bit because me and Pat were wondering, just like professional wrestling, we wonder what the ratings look like when it's two of us or three of us, what the numbers look like. We're gonna ask the fans what they think.
Yeah, we need to know if you bump the ratings like CM Punk or if you tank the ratings like the Young Bucks.
No, I
No,
wasn't.
like Ryback. No, I got to be like Ryback. I'm
I
the I'm
wasn't.
the tanker like Ryback.
I wasn't going there with that one, but
Um,
Pat did.
I did.
I know
yeah,
you
my
did.
my son decided to wake up and play NBA 2K16, and he wanted to create his own player. So yeah, I'm getting asked like 1,000 questions on how to create your own player, which I have never done in that game.
I
Yeah.
think that's when you go, here's the IGN guide, figure it out yourself.
Google it, you'll find a guide for it. Don't worry. It's
So,
there.
so yeah.
Oh,
Trust me,
that's
if
too
there's one
funny.
thing there's a lot of on the internet, it's people telling you how to do shit in video games.
It, well, and it's funny because like I don't like the 2K games, at least not the NBA 2K games. Like I haven't played any of the Madden games in forever because I'm, we had that discussion last week. Um, but I stopped playing the 2K games because it's unrealistic. Everybody's the greatest defender of all time. Nobody's a terrible defender, and if you watch the NBA, most people are terrible defenders. So it's not realistic.
Hmm.
LeBron is the greatest on-ball defender of all time. I'm like, nah, no. Like I'm getting locked down here by LeBron here. This is not realistic. Sorry, LeBron fans. He's not a lockdown defender.
He's a
He has his
situational
moments, but he
defender.
is not a lockdown defender.
He is situational for sure.
He engaged the cheat codes.
So funny, so funny. Yes,
So,
yes. Oh, so I'll ask you, Jeremy, as I asked Pat earlier, how was your week?
my week was better after I got by Monday, and I got into the swing of things, and I got over my ridiculousness of some of the anxiety that I was feeling with changes at work. Everything's settled back into good, and that.
That
So,
is good.
and we finished up with our open gyms this week. So
Oh,
we had a youth clinic yesterday, which my son got to be involved in. So he
that's
really
cool.
enjoyed that, being part of the youth clinic that we held.
Cool.
And yeah, so now today's a chill day, but not really because I got to clean this house because it's a disaster zone, and
That's
do a
what I'll
lot
be
of
doing
laundry
tomorrow.
because do a lot of laundry, and I got some boulders in my trunk of my SUV, so I got to get those out of the trunk so we can go grocery shopping. Yeah, so I got a lot of shit to do.
Boulders? What are we doing with these boulders? Decorating something of the yard aspect?
Well, my yard, since neither of you have ever seen the backyard, is quite a little slanted. And so when it rains bad, it kind of like it erodes my yard. So it just kind of
Hmm.
slowly gets worse. Not
Yeah,
that
but
you
it
can
hasn't
normally
rained in
see it
like 8
visibly.
months.
Yeah, I know. So we don't have to worry about that right now. But um, I started building a small boulder wall to kind of help retain the soil and stuff like that, so it doesn't just run away. So.
Hmm. It's a good idea.
Oh, for Christ's sake, the Giants are horrible.
Oh yeah, they're playing. I forgot. They're over in Europe right now playing.
Yeah, they
Yep.
just had a drive stalled out, and guess what they did to cap it off?
Fumble.
Turned it over.
Missed a field
Oh, well,
goal.
that's even better.
Yes, they're playing the lonely Carolina Panthers in Germany today.
I
In Munich.
almost started Daniel Jones today, but then I was like, yeah, but Daniel Jones and the Giants just are bad, so I don't
Yeah,
think even
so
Carolina's going to
so
save them for fantasy points.
so far from what I've seen, you're that was definitely an astute decision to not start him.
So I don't
Two,
know.
2-17.
I'm gonna end up winning the one chip challenge and get to eat the spiciest chip in the world. So it's just
Oh,
inevitable at this point in time, and I don't care. I
yeah.
just really don't. This
You know,
this I don't get it. I tried to make smart picks. I actually had some really good picks,
you did.
and
You legitimately
everybody
did.
on my team essentially got hurt, so it doesn't matter anymore. I got uh Ayuka who's hurt. I got Pacheco who's hurt. Um I had to get rid of Tua because he got IR'd. I know he's back now, but
He's still not playing great, so it's not
you know,
it's not where it's is what it is.
somebody else got hurt and I had to get rid of them. Um oh, and Fant, who's my backup tight end, he's out now. Like everybody that I had just is freaking injured, and not like injured like for a little bit of time. It's like injured reserve means they're out at least half the season. I'm just my team was screwed from the beginning, and all these other guys just evidently they just know how to pick these rookies that are freaking miraculous. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like, there isn't that many good players in the NFL. I'm sorry, that can get you 30 points a freaking game on a
No,
consistent.
no,
Like,
no.
I'm over it. I'm done with fantasy. I'm not going to be playing anymore because it's frustrating and annoying.
Well, I think
These
I've
guys
said it
pick up guys
before.
to have these guys pick up nobodies and then be mega stars every year. Like, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I haven't played fantasy in a couple years now, and I'm so happy with that decision. Like just
And
one
plus, we
less
got 12 people. It's too
aggravation that
many
I don't
people in
deal
the
with.
league. 10 should be your max for a fantasy football because it's too thin by the time you get to the 11th round. It's way too thin. It's already thin by the 10th round.
Yeah, yeah, especially depending on how many people they put as the starters and then the bench and whatnot. So it's frustrating. Like my teams, I think I have a losing record. Ever since I joined this fantasy league with your nephew, I don't think I've had a winning record ever. Like, and I've had good drafts and stuff, and I just can't get these. And it's a crapshoot. Like my players just haven't performed no matter who I've picked. Or it's like one player does really, really good for me, and the rest of the team is just has, you know, an average or below average day, and I'm just losing more than I'm winning. Um, the other fantasy league I'm in with my coworkers is interesting because it's called best ball. I never played it before, but
Hmm.
it's pretty much all you do is you draft your players. It has the starting lineup and how many bench like normal. But what it does is if you have two quarterbacks and your starting quarterback scores 26 points and your guy in your bench scores 32, it automatically replaces that bench player to the starting lineup. And it will do that no matter who is. So if your whole bench outscores people in your starting lineup, it will take all the bench players and substitute them and put them in the starting lineup. So it's hence best ball. So it's a little bit different. It's
Hmm.
fun. Um, I started off 4-0, then I lost a bunch of games. I think I'm 5-4 right now. Um, But the crazy part is my team has scored the most points in our league by a lot. So it's kind of like I have this team that scores a crap ton of points, but yet I'm only 5-4.
You were
Yes.
paying for your sins, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. So it's interesting. So it's really not all you gotta do is really manage, if you have injured players, you can't really put anybody on IR, which I think is kind of weird, but you know, um, it's low maintenance is what I'm really saying, which is interesting. So I'm getting used to it. But with that being said, yeah, I'm not sure how much fantasy football I'm gonna be doing after this season. And Jeremy's right. The one with his nephew, like some of these guys, I'm like, I've been doing fantasy football forever, but these guys are like just picking up these guys off the bench, and all of a sudden, like the next week, they're scoring like 18, 20 some points, and it's like, wait, what? Like, how is this possible? I'm like, it's very odd. Hence why no one wanted to make any more trades because I had like 6 trade offers and I declined every single one of them because they were just absolutely ridiculous.
He doesn't want to trade, so I'm not going to make him my horrible trade offers anymore.
So I stopped doing that. I just declined them all. And
I'm gonna go to the guy with the best team in our league. He's 7-2. That's his record. So
okay,
here's his lineup. He's got Jaden Daniels. I don't know who the fuck that guy is. I know he's the quarterback for the Washington Commanders.
Anders.
Don't say the racial slur.
Yeah, but let's see this guy's average game log. His average is this is, and as far as I know, he's a rookie. I think.
Yes,
Pretty
he was
sure
the
he's
number
Yes,
he was the number 2 pick in the draft.
correct. Yep.
he's averaging 20 points a game. Like, okay, sure. Bucky Irving, who?
That's Captain America's friend.
Yeah, for the Buccaneers, he's a running back. He's averaging probably around 12. Tyrone Tracy, once again, who?
He's a rookie running back for the Giants. He was like a 5th round pick, and he's had a couple of good games now. Yeah.
Yeah, he's averaging about, you know, I would say between 8 and 10.
Yeah, he's only been like getting more carries over like the last like 4 or 5 games. Like he wasn't like the featured back to start the season. So
Jamar Chase.
Well, Jamar
No,
Chase is Jamar
I'm,
Chase.
I know who Jamar Chase is, but here's a player that, because he's got the right quarterback and he's in the right system, is going off. He's had a 44-point game, and this week he had a 59-point game. That is stupid. Okay, that is just stupid.
I have Joe Burrow on my other fantasy league team. Yeah, I reeked out the points with that one.
Jamison Williams. Here's another guy. This guy's he's had 0 point. He's had 0 points 2 games in a row, and this guy's still winning games. He doesn't even need this
Jamison
guy.
Williams, I think, has been not playing because I think he's got some legal issues going on.
Oh, is that the dude from Detroit? The wide
Yeah,
That's
receiver?
the dude from Detroit.
Yeah,
But
wide
before that,
receiver.
he's averaging about 15 prior to those last 2 games. Let's see, George Kittle, who I had George Kittle, and that guy had nothing because he got injured every year I had him. He was injured the freaking year I have him. And that's the thing. Like, I get so sick of these guys. I get so sick of picking up guys, and they get injured, and then the next year they have a blow up year. It's like, this is like, there is no picking the right guy in this league. It is a freaking crapshoot.
It is.
George Kittle's another one that's been going off this year. And who is Jamar Gibbs? Jameer Gibbs? I'm like,
Yeah, he's
Running
running
back
back
from
Detroit.
Yeah. He's like the two-headed
And he's
horse
going
with
off.
David Montgomery.
Yeah, and he's going off. He's averaging 17 to 18 a game.
Yeah.
I don't
Cooper
know.
Kupp.
A lot of this is starting to sound like you just don't know who anybody is anymore.
Do you know who Jameer Gibbs is?
Yes.
No, you don't, you liar.
Funny.
And you're right. I don't know who a lot of these players are because I don't give a shit. I like my team, and that's the only team I care about until they play the next team in the next week. And then I go, okay, who are these guys? Oh, this guy looks good. So, yeah, you're probably all right. I'm probably out of touch in regards to who's actually good. But most of these guys are picking up rookies, and these rookies are going off. And that's what it is every year. These guys pick up rookies, and they go off, and it's so freaking ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Listen, Jeremy's not off in regards to that. Like the last 3-4 years I've been in that league with you guys, like some of the guys who are being picked up, it's kind of like, huh? What? Like, I read a lot of stuff on fantasy football and players too. Like, how are you guys just randomly picking these dudes to be spectacular? I'm just kind of like, okay. I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, it's frustrating. 100%.
Yeah.
Like I like the best ball option that we do with at my work league. It just, you just draft your team and do your thing. I did see one. So a friend of the show, Shane, sent me a screenshot yesterday of his fantasy team. I know you can set up your fantasy league however you want. There's all different ways to do it. But this is one of the most unconventional setups I've seen. So their starting lineup is as follows. They have one quarterback, 2 running backs. The next 3 slots are flex slots of either a wide receiver or tight end. And then they have a super flex, which is a running back, wide receiver, tight end. Or here you go. Let's throw in another quarterback.
Yeah,
Nice.
okay, now.
And then a kicker. And I was like, no defense? He was like, no. So Shane literally had, this is the crazy part. He had Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson on his team with Jamar Chase. And he also had Chase Brown too.
Yeah, you can't go flexing quarterbacks.
I was like, you have a super flex quarterback? He's like, yeah, it's the only league I have. I was like, that is just silly and ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Either you start 2 quarterbacks or you just start 1 quarterback. You can't flex a quarterback because yeah.
That is insane. Because weeks like this, he has a super advantage, and good luck to the team that he's playing against because that's like an automatic win after that point, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Now, imagine if you could flex a quarterback under the fantasy league rules that we used to do back in the day with AJ, where we counted completions and receptions and everything, and quarterbacks were the most valuable players in our league, not running backs or anything like that.
Yeah.
If you could flex it, and when we started 2 quarterbacks in that league too, as I recall, which was fine. Everybody's starting 2 quarterbacks. But imagine if you could like flex a quarterback and it's like, yeah, every time he gets a completion, you're getting points and everything. Obviously, you're going to have a huge fucking advantage.
Yep.
So that's just no, you can't flex quarterbacks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was just so. Yeah, man. That was just when I saw that, I was like, you guys do what in your league? You have a super flex with a quarterback? I just thought that was a bit much.
Sounds like they're
Def-
cheating to me.
Oh, yeah. Hey, people like to bend rules and make up stuff to get an advantage when it comes to fantasy football. A lot of people have done it. I've been in multiple fantasy leagues where that's been an issue in the past, but
I'm so secure about myself as a person that I'm going to cheat in a fake sport.
that's all about luck. Yep, indeed. Oh God. I'm having one of my old man days today. Everything I do today, I feel like my body's like not wanting to do it. My body is failing me today, guys.
You're old.
47 is not looking very good today. God damn.
Well, you could be older, as we know.
You're on mute, Jeremy. He's
Someone's
talking.
talking to me again.
Oh, I was just saying, Jeremy's over here talking shit, but he's talking shit while he's on mute.
Well,
Story
that's
of my
his fault.
life. It's the
Oh,
best way to talk. On
and
mute.
we'll let you guys know that our video that was near 1,000 views has surpassed a 1,000 view mark.
Was that one of the clips that you posted?
Yes, yes. Speaking of fantasy football, it was the fantasy football trade one. We have eclipsed 1,000 views.
Those people are like, these guys are complainer, these whiny little ladies.
Look at these whiny bitches complaining. Hey, I have the right to complain at my age these days, all right? And as I get older, I have the right to complain even more.
Now, see, I would take issue with anybody saying that anything I was doing in a fantasy football related clip was complaining because, as I've said, I don't play fantasy football anymore. So my comments then they transcend from complaining to criticizing.
Correct.
Meaning that you can't criticize me for criticizing because I'm not complaining, I'm criticizing. And if you can figure that one out, good on you. But I don't think you can. So there.
Yes, yes. So other than that, everyone's had a productive week. That's good.
I didn't say productive.
You got work to do. That's production.
Well, I mean, it was kind of a weird situation. It was something that I hadn't actually encountered before, but I don't want to bore everybody with the details. But fortunately, it had to do with somebody passing away and how it affected a tax return. But
Ooh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't know you had to do this if such a situation arose because I had never ran into it before. So
Hmm.
you do still learn stuff all the time in my job, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. And you
Yeah.
have to keep learning stuff in my job because one, there are requirements as such, especially once you get licensed and everything that you continue to do like education stuff every year. And obviously, of course, I'm in a volatile type of industry where shit changes all the time. And oh, Daniel Jones gets sacked on a flea flicker. Why are you running a flea flicker on a 3rd and 1? Holy Christ, this fucking team.
I think they're going to lose their coach this year.
Dude, they need to just start over the whole fucking franchise from ownership on down.
Pat's gonna lose his mind.
I don't know why. It's like I don't
Listen,
know why
we're firing the owner. We're getting a new owner.
I don't know why I expect anything different from this team at this point. It's like They have been a fairly pathetic franchise ever since they last won the Super Bowl, which is going on 13 years now. So it's and the problem is, of course, is that they're supposed to be one of the signature franchises in the league. That's what I think is even so much more so than me just that they're my team is what makes this just like intolerable,
Yeah.
So
It's frustrating in that aspect, 100%.
yeah. But anyway, what I was saying, like obviously stuff changes in my industry all the time, and it will obviously be changing again per day soon, in all likelihood.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, it's going to anyway because the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed back in 2017, most of those provisions expire um in a year. So like that issue has to be addressed
Oh, very true.
anyway. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Very true, very true.
We'll see what happens. So, but anyway.
Yes. Yes, yes. Jeremy looks very enticed into something that has caught his eye.
I saw a basketball drill.
Uh, Can never
Ooh,
get
they made
enough
a
of
drill in the
them.
shape of a basketball?
Yes, that. Yes, exactly.
That would seem a tad impractical. Am I wrong?
Depends what you're drilling.
We were. It made me think back to our last open gym where we had the guys doing a charge drill because none of them know. Well, I shouldn't say none of them. A good vast majority of them either don't want to take a charge or don't know how to take a charge.
Well, I mean, there's one
Hmm.
way I would think to teach kids how you take a charge.
I say we should hit them with a truck and they can't move.
Well,
Stand there until I hit you with this truck.
that's a little bit like the if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball philosophy. But no, I was gonna say, like, seriously, if you want to like teach kids how to take a charge, um, you just show them video of Shane Battier, and then after every one, you say, "Now that in fact was not a charge, but he got every fucking call known to man, so it was." And that's how you take a charge.
You take the football players, one of the bigger football players, and give them a basketball, and it's like, here you go, take the charge. Suck it up. You could take a charge from a football player, you're good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I was the best at taking charges when I played, as a kid. But there is a way to take a charge so you absorb and not get crushed
Hmm.
in that. And these kids are so many kids I've run into. So just in general, are scared to have somebody run into them, and it's crazy to me. Like
I wonder
some of the kids,
why.
some of the kids that are like that are kids that come from football. You play a contact sport, like a legit contact sport, and you're not willing to stand there as somebody drives the lane because most of these kids are not taking a guy running at them full speed charge. Like those just don't normally happen. Normally
No.
there's a there's a maybe they're coming from the foul line and they jump in front of him from the foul line. That guy's only had 2-3 steps at most. So it's not even like he was coming full force from the baseline of the other side and just plowed into you. So, the force is not that great, but they just are not willing to step in front. Our group of guys did pretty well. I'll say pretty well because some of them got the idea and realized, oh, this isn't as bad as if I get in a better position than standing straight like a tree. If I
Yeah.
lower my body and like kind of shake it in the middle of my chest instead of like my stomach and my growing area, that I'm gonna be better off. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
They don't it's the easy concepts in regards to stuff like that
yeah.
that they just don't. They're like, oh my God, really? Yeah, it's not that hard. Really
The
isn't.
biggest problem, I would say, the biggest problem is the kids that actually take a charge properly that don't get the calls for the charge because the rule for charges in the
Mhm.
national, what is it? The NH, I always mess it up. NSHF. No, NFHS, the National Federation of High School. The wording in there is always, it's very clear, but it is easily misunderstood because people think they just know the rule. There is no rule about your feet have to be set. That's not in the rules. The rule is you have to establish a legal guarding position, which means you need to be square to the player that you're playing against, because that's a legal guarding position. You're square to the player. And then minimum guarding distance is defined as within 6 feet. So you have to be 6 feet or closer. There's no minimum, but maximum is 6 feet, which makes sense because that's the 5-second rule. Like,
Yeah.
closely guarded, you have to be in a closely guarded position, so within 6 feet. And my son's being weird too.
I saw him creep up on behind you, and I was waiting to see what he was gonna do.
Put his nose on me, was breathe side. Weird, creepy kid.
He's trolling you.
Here, take that. Take that. Stop it. Go get yourself dressed, booger boy. And then you just have to maintain that legal guarding position. So you can move forward, backwards, side to side, as long as you maintain that legal guarding position. As long as you stay in a legal guarding position and you do not initiate the contact and the player runs into you, well, that's a charge.
They've changed so much with that because of the Euro step and some other things. They want the game more free flowing. Like they took verbiage out of it and whatnot that I saw. It's just kind of like you're catering to the NBA. Like there's so much traveling in the NBA this day, and I don't know.
But they did add this year that they're going to start calling flopping. They will start calling flopping in high school level.
They should.
Flop, flop, flop all day long. Flop,
So
flop, flop,
players will
while I
get a
sing that
warning with the
song.
first
Incident.
referee considering it a flop. They'll get a warning, and then after that, I forget what the actual, if it's a technical, I think it's a technical foul for the player that flops. I think is where they go after the first warning.
I think that's what Marlon told me it is. It's technical.
Oh my God in heaven.
So, but it's interesting. So, and that's where like the Euro step, like we tell kids now, I tell kids now, if you Euro step somebody, you are now on the side of them. You are no longer in a legal guarding position. So if you make contact with them, now it is a blocking foul.
Well, they got to make sure they go like this then.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. I didn't do it.
I didn't touch him.
Throw your hands up.
It wasn't me.
But yeah, and that's because we had that problem. We played a team last year, and this kid got each game, and I might have said this in a podcast a couple months ago. He had four charges called. We had 4 charges called against us on this one kid one game, and I think we had 5 the next time we played him. Nobody knew how to Euro step around or sidestep anything. The kid got there, planted himself, didn't move, and we ran straight through him. And normally I'd be all about that, but you can't do that. It is a charge.
Yeah.
How much?
Now, if I was going to do that, if I knew a kid was doing that, me personally, I would give it everything I had to go through that kid and make him realize that you do not want to stand in front of me. Like, I am going to hurt you.
It's like if you're going to take this charge against me, you're going to be sore. I'm going to make it hurt.
Yeah. So give him that second thought. And it was funny because we found out that later, talking to that coach, that he incentivized kids willing to take a charge. He would buy them a cheeseburger from McDonald's. This kid had racked up like 10 cheeseburgers that he still owed him.
Wow.
Hey,
just buy him 5 double cheeseburgers and be done with it.
It worked.
Wow.
So
I'll give him a
triple
cheeseburgers for
cheeseburgers
this
at
deal.
McDonald's?
what's that?
Do they still do triple cheeseburgers at McDonald's? And maybe they just said buy
I'm sure they do.
3 triple cheeseburgers and 1 regular cheeseburger.
But yeah,
Not all at once.
I mean, I know some people who could eat all that once, so it's
Yeah.
wouldn't
I
surprise me.
used to be able to do that, but since I've been on Rebelsis, I sure as hell can't.
It's not something you want to do in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not something you're supposed to do.
No.
But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. We got tryouts coming up Friday this week, so official tryouts, and then we have a one full week of practice, and then a not full week of practice because of Thanksgiving.
You're not
Thank you,
challenging
Thanksgiving.
that, Malik.
Do you think you're gonna have a good turnout for tryouts?
We have had between on a good day, we've had anywhere between 22 and 30 kids. So,
And
That's
there have
good.
been about 2 who are worth a good goddamn.
well, I can't say. But yeah, I think the biggest problem that we're still going to have is our presence in the middle, like our low post presence. We're still going to struggle with that.
Gotcha.
And there's just no way around it. The kids that we have that have some height just they don't have a willingness to play it, or if they do, they just don't know how to play it well. They don't know how to turn all the way to the basket and take and get up and into somebody.
Yeah, because
They
all they want to do is shoot threes, I'll bet.
they fade away from it, or they make awkward shots. They don't
Tell them they
make
aren't
that
Patrick
turn.
Ewing.
So if we could get somebody that is aggressive,
You can bring
and
that
it
hook
doesn't have
shot
to be
back.
super tall. Just had we had 6'2" is fine. Like for the Colonial League, 6'2" is fine. You don't have many monsters in the Colonial League. Heck, you don't have many monsters in the Lehigh Valley. Let's be honest. We don't have many monsters in the Lehigh Valley that are topping out at 6'8". You
No,
know.
very few and far between.
Yeah. I think there's one in our league this year. And funny enough, it comes from Northwestern. I think they have a 6'6" or 6'8" kid on their team.
Hmm.
So very unusual. But anyways, you know, so you don't really have that many kids. So 6'2" would be fine for that low post area. But once again, the willingness to play that the way that it can be played, and I don't want to say should be played, but can be played, and the ability to finish at the rim just is something that we lack. Other teams don't. Other teams do. So some teams are in the same boat and some teams are not. It's just,
Huh.
you know,
Yeah, gotta have
but
somebody though.
the
I
group that
guess.
I have, I think we have a lot of potential. And I hate to look at towards the following year and say, oh, this year should be good, but we'll be even better next year. I think we do have the opportunity to be a lot more competitive team with the group of kids that are coming up for our JV group.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Progression,
So,
man. Progression. You gotta see that still in the foresight.
yeah.
So
So
that's always good.
hopefully we can flip things around and get to a winning record, whether it's, one win over 500 or whatever, if we can make that progress towards beyond where we weren't last year at 7-15. So
I was gonna say, what were you guys last year? 7 to
7 and
15?
15. It was
Gotcha.
bad. It was
Hmm.
not not the first exposure to high school program that I wanted to have was us being that level
No, I get
and
it. I get
struggling,
it.
especially when we did have a kid that was 6'5", but wasn't. I don't want to say wasn't because there was times where he did get aggressive in the middle, but a lot of times did not want to be that kid. And
Hmm.
he essentially, what was crazy is he started off really good. Like he was physical in the low post. He was willing to take shots, and then at some point in time, something switched off on him, and he wouldn't take shots. He would give up shots that were available to him. He stopped being aggressive under the low post, getting rebounds and stuff. And then it turned on, and he got aggressive under the low post, but then he wouldn't shoot still until like the last 2 games, and then all of a sudden he wanted to shoot again, and he was starting to make them. Yeah.
I'm going outside.
Okay, buddy, you need a sweatshirt. You can probably do your light one. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of odd for him to turn it on and off like that. Like
Yeah.
something was going on
Mm-hmm.
where he was
Yeah.
unsure of himself. Yeah, you start
Yeah.
off good, so I'm not sure what the uncertainty was with him as far
Yeah.
as turning things off. That's a little bit odd.
Yeah. I don't know if because of the amount of I don't know if it was the shit talking that maybe was happening that you can't hear as a coach because that it's usually very quiet between those players, when they're on the court, because they're so close together.
Yeah.
Or what?
Is your car unlocked?
No, it is not. But you can unlock it. If you bring me the keys, I can unlock it. You just got to go right out.
Okay.
No joyriding.
Yeah.
No joyriding and off-roading.
So
None
we'll
of
see.
that.
We'll see. It should be an interesting season. I just hope the kids come out and play and really want to play hard. As you know, as a coach, you can't teach them to play hard. They either got to want to or don't want to.
I know how to work.
100%.
You go out there and I'll unlock it.
Yeah.
I'm not letting him take the keys out with him.
You'll leave them in the SUV on accident or something. But yeah, you can't teach that. They either want to or they don't, or
And you can't teach that.
oh, I still miss that because that shit was good.
I know. He's still funny enough. He's still going around the indie scenes and he's still using that character, like that persona.
He's special. I'll just say that. He is special.
Special is a word. I think he still believes he didn't do anything wrong too to get himself removed from WWE, I'm sure.
Oh, I know he doesn't.
Each is to your own with that one, but you have to take self-aware and take responsibility for shit. But it is what it is. But yeah, you can't teach kids to play in that manner.
There it is. Oh.
They gotta be willing to do it, or they have
Plastic,
to,
isn't it?
get motivation from their teammates to do it, or their coaches. Jeremy. And Patrick has a look on his face like he has seen something where he wants to take his
Hey, let me check the trunk.
fist and punch it through something and hope it lands somewhere on someone's head on the Giants team, maybe coaches, players, something to that effect.
Yep.
See,
The Giants had started to go on a nice drive. They had the ball about Carolina's 20-yard line just inside of 2 minutes. And on a 2nd and 12, they called like a rollout play, and a guy was coming right at Jones, and he tried to throw it over the guy, and the guy jumped, deflected the ball, and it was intercepted by the defensive back. So
fantastical.
I do see interception. Oof.
Interception.
So here's the stats, which is crazy. So Daniel Jones is now 6 of 14 for 54 yards of interception, but Bryce Young's only 9 of 13 for 84 yards and a touchdown.
well, yeah, touchdown, better completion percentage.
But still,
And they've been
84
running the ball
yards.
pretty well because the Giants' run defense is non-existent.
Yes, Hubbard's
Giants have
almost
one of the best defensive tackles in the game in Dexter Lawrence, and they have shit run defense.
yeah. See, Hubbard's
They have
almost at
somebody to
100
help him.
yards.
They're like, yeah, we'll just put this guy there. He'll be the answer. We don't need extra guys to help him stop the run. One man gang.
Boy, vey. I will say this. I think last week's NFL games, the refs either weren't wearing their contacts, or they blatantly saw the fouls and just decided not to call them, or whatever the case may be. But they missed a lot of shit at the end of games last week.
Well, apparently it spread to college too, based upon something that I heard happened late last night after I went to bed.
Yeah, the
The,
BYU Utah game.
The BYU Utah game.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a fourth BYU trying to, come back to win the game at the end, got stopped on 4th down with like a sack, but they called Utah for defensive holding. It extended the drive. BYU kicked a field goal to remain unbeaten. And apparently, and this was kind of makes it a little bit more remarkable. The Utah athletic director, not the coach, but the athletic director came down and addressed the press and just went on like a rant about the officiating. So that's,
Yeah.
you hear coaches go off on rants about officiating all the time, but not too often you hear the athletic director doing that. So I found that
he was livid.
yeah.
So I gotta ask, what the hell happened in the Colorado Texas Tech game? I saw that they were throwing stuff onto the feel, but I don't know where they were. Like the context was, it was very out of context in regards to where they were and what was happening.
Ooh, I have an answer to that question.
Yes.
I don't care.
It was on the sidelines and they were throwing it at Dion's other son, Shiloh, the defensive player.
Hmm.
I think they had just made a play or went up or just took the lead or something like that. And I don't know what Shiloh did on the sidelines, but they started throwing stuff at him. I'd have to get more context of that situation and
All right.
in
I'm
a
going
video
to
and
officially
whatnot.
look that up since Pat doesn't give a crap.
Well, that's more of a comment, and then I didn't want to pretend like Colorado's doing badly. Because I'm just sick of the Dion show. So think
Well,
of this: there's a good chance the Giants will be in a
and they
position
beat
to
up on
draft a
Texas Tech
quarterback.
too.
Yeah, there's a good chance the Giants will be in a position to draft a quarterback in next year's draft. The one guy, I mean, and I don't think it's a great quarterback draft to begin with, but at the top of my list of quarterbacks I don't want the Giants to draft, Shadar Sanders is number one, mostly because I just don't want any of the circus that's going to come along with him. I don't need Dion fucking weighing in from Colorado every week about how, like, oh, this guy's not getting open or this guy's not blocking for him. Oh, the team's run like shit. Fuck you, Dion.
I know. I see you're coming from with that. I do. I get it. Definitely so.
There's obviously an ideal spot for Shadar Sanders to go, and that's to Vegas.
Yes. I agree with
Because
that.
a guy like him should be quarterback of the Raiders.
It would make sense. It definitely would. I mean, listen, yeah, Jeremy, a lot of the damage they did to Texas Tech yesterday was second half because they were losing that game at one point. So they weren't playing well off the get-go. But they did what they did, came back and they won and kind of gave it to them. I mean, they're 7-2.
They did
So
what they did what they do.
they're 7-2 now, I think. So kudos to them for that. They're having a better season this year than last year. And let's see what happens on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Is it was it
Yeah.
Tuesday? Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Tuesdays now, right?
And this week they don't have an election to go up against.
Nope. But we'll see what happens with the college football playoff standings since good old Miami. Yeah, Miami was running. That's the word I'm looking for. Their time was up in regards to their comebacks because there was multiple games where they've been losing in the second half and just making these comebacks and winning. And I was like, oh crap, they're losing to them. I'm like, this is great. And they weren't able to come back this time. So it was nice to see that, them come down to earth. I was disappointed Georgia lost the way they did to Ole Miss, but hey, Ole Miss looked good, but unfortunately Ole Miss has a bad loss on their record this year, so that's not a good thing too.
Stop calling them that.
What?
It's Mississippi.
Ole Miss.
It's Mississippi.
I like the shortcut.
No, I don't.
I'm too old to say Mississippi. Mississippi.
I'm not. See, there's a very specific reason I don't want to call them Ole Miss because to me that's like an antebellum South kind of thing.
I live in the South.
Yeah. Okay. Antebellum. Pre-Civil War.
I know. I know.
Well, no, but it will be interesting to see what happens in the playoff top 25, mostly because of Miami's loss. Georgia's obviously going to fall a bit because now that's their second loss and everything, but that was Miami's first loss. So it's like, where does Miami get dropped in relation to some other teams that have one loss, like Penn State and Tennessee and Notre Dame and everything like that? So for what it's worth, ESPN, their weekly article, projecting the playoff top 25 after week 11. No change at the top two. Oregon 1, Ohio State 2. They have Texas at 3, which is probably a lock. They then move Penn State up to 4, Tennessee to 5, Indiana to 6. That's 2 spots. That's all of them moving up 2 spots each, I believe. BYU to 7, Notre Dame to 8. Again, I believe that's 2 spots up for both of them. Alabama to 9. I think they were 11 this week. They dropped Georgia to 10. and Miami to 11. I don't know about that. I'm not
Okay.
sure about dropping Miami. First of all, I'm not sure about Miami getting dropped that far. Second of all, I know Georgia's 2 losses were to good teams. You know, that there was Alabama and Texas, who are both going to be ranked ahead of them and everything. I'm not sure how you can justify keeping a team with 2 losses over a team with 1 loss, but that's going to be that good old SEC.
Well, here's the other thing too,
And then
is
number
that
12, they had Boise State.
so here's the thing with that one loss Miami, they have no wins against top 25 teams this year.
Okay,
None.
so that's something I wasn't aware of. Finally,
So
Penn
that
State doesn't now.
because here's the other thing. So speaking of the Big Ten, here's the funny part. The Big Ten only has
Wait. Miami beat Louisville. Louisville is in the top 25 again. For what that's worth.
oh, they weren't at the time though when they played
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, but it's true. Miami's other ones were Florida, Florida A&M, Ball State, South Florida, Virginia Tech, Cal, both of whom they escaped.
Yeah.
Louisville, which was also a close game, Florida State and Duke, and then their last 2 games are Wake Forest and Syracuse. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not.
Louisville being in the top 25 now will make it look better, but they didn't beat a
Yeah.
team at the time when they were in the top 25. Because the Big Ten is very weird too, because there's only 3 teams that have a winning record against top 25 teams, and that's Oregon, Minnesota, and Illinois.
Yeah, and so I was gonna say, I'm starting to see some parallels between Miami's resume and Penn State's resume. Penn State's ones are West Virginia, Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, who was in the top 25 at the time but isn't now, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, and Washington. And then their last 3 games are Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland. So they're
And
not going to have any
they're
top 25 wins.
they're well, no, they still do. It still counts when they beat Illinois, even though they're not in the top 25 now. They got rid of that whole bullshit is gone out the wasteland. They tried doing that years ago with the college rankings. They don't do that anymore because Penn State is 1-1 in the top 25. So they're 1-1 against teams in the top. So that's going to be an advantage for them. Doesn't matter if Illinois is not in the top 25. They're still uh above 500 team in regards to that. So
So I got context for that Colorado game.
yes,
Oh,
go
here
for it.
we go.
Oh, quiet.
Give it to us, baby.
So it started when when Travis Hunter found pay dirt and scored and kind of trotted in. I guess Shiloh was standing on the sidelines at that point in time, and a Texas Tech fan threw a water bottle at him, and then he decided it was okay to throw it back. So both were in the wrong there.
Wonderful.
And then there was a lot of complaint from fans, I guess, with no calls or missing calls for that would have been for towards Texas Tech. And I guess it said on the ensuing possession. So after they just scored on the ensuing possession, carnage ensued. The referees rebuffed Texas Tech's claim for a targeting call on fourth down, resulting in a turnover on downs. And that's when all hell broke loose. And evidently, somebody threw a tortilla on the ground, and they threw a whole bunch of like other debris and stuff like that. And that's when the coach got on the microphone and said, "Stop throwing stuff on the field."
Drew a tortilla, eh? Little tortilla boy. They're trying to take my
I'm sure it was a
tortillas.
taco. It was probably a taco. But yeah, so a lot of anger over the fact that there was no calls happening that were, according to the Texas Tech fans, blatant calls that should have been made, which happens every sporting event, basketball, football, hockey, all of them have calls that are missed. Hockey's probably the most egregious with all the holding of the sticks and stuff like that.
Whoa,
Yeah.
well, I mean, what? Hey. That's, I mean, whatever they want to do in the locker room is. Oh,
Stop it.
you meant the hockey sticks.
Yes, the hockey sticks.
Oh, silly me.
So yeah, we actually went to on Friday. We went to a Phantoms game, which is
Nice.
the local hockey team, and
I
those
saw-
guys literally like grab the guy. Like if they get into a scuffle in like the corner, or they're trying to get the puck out and stuff like that, you literally see guys grab a hold of one guy's arm and like kind of interlock, like kind of like James Harden does when he tries to draw a foul. Interlock arms and like they just like hold each other. I'm like, interesting, because I
I
don't.
know.
Is there not a? I don't know enough about hockey rules, so I'm guessing there is not a penalty for holding onto somebody as
Technically,
far as
no.
like with your arm. Not with, of course, a stick, because if you're holding onto them with your stick, then it's a hooking,
Correct.
penalty. So it's just interesting the amount of holding that goes on in those games, and like especially when it comes to like the stick, if the stick gets up around the guy's like midsection, he can put his arm down and hold the stick. He'll hold the guy's stick and like try and rip it out of his hands. It's kind of funny. I'm like, geez.
It is. It is. There's a lot of pushing and shoving and grabbing and holding and all that type of shit, to be honest. But yeah, hockey games are fun. We're going
They
to a
are.
game at we're going to the Hurricanes Blackhawks game end of January, I think it is. Yeah. I got tickets for that when the tickets came out.
Go Blackhawks.
So
Fucking Hurricanes.
yes, we'll see how it goes. The teams, the Blackhawks are, they're okay. They got a whole bunch of new people on their team as far as veterans and whatnot. So they're trying to find their groove in regards to how they all play together. But it's been a little bit of an up and down season, but better than how they started last season. So I'll take it. Progress is all I want to see. Progress indeed.
Yeah. Progress. Whatever.
I know it is a whatever, but it's what we
Progress.
gotta do, brother.
Progress. It's not always a good thing, said the racist killer in one early season Law and Order episode.
Well, maybe I'll get tickets to this game, November 23rd. The Chicago Blackhawks and the Philadelphia Flyers, and I can go boo the Blackhawks.
The Flyers suck. And the only reason I'm saying that is because this past Tuesday night, which was also election night, I was doing trivia again with my.
Oh, tell us. It was election night? No way. What's been going on with the world? I'm just kidding. I don't want to go down that route.
I was at trivia with my sister and brother-in-law. We went back to the Coop on Freemansburg Avenue, the former Fat Jacks, because we hadn't gone there the previous.
Oh, Fat
season.
Jacks! I remember. Oh, that place was awesome.
Yeah. And they had like the TVs were on different things. There was like they did have one TV that had NBC News on, which wasn't great, but even though nothing was really happening at that time of the night, but they had the Flyers Hurricanes game on one TV that I was kind of facing, and I was watching some of that because being a Rangers fan and the fact that the Hurricanes are the better team, I obviously want the Hurricanes to lose. And oh my God, did the Flyers play some bad hockey during that game from when I was looking up at it. There was like one period, I think, where they gave up like 2 goals within the span of like a minute or two, and they looked just so awful on both plays that it was like, yeah, I could have scored on that one. And I've never even ice skated.
So, just out of curiosity, Joe, how much did you pay for your tickets to the Hurricanes Blackhawks game?
I am in.
3,720.
I won't sit in the 300 section. I will not do it.
Yeah, that's high up.
I'm in the 200 section, so it's right in front of, like, it's in the middle, and it's right in front of like the suites or whatever the fuck you want to call them, the boxes. I think my tickets were like 90 something a piece.
Okay. I was just looking at Flyers tickets because I was like interested in how much it would cost. So if we went to the 100 level, which I don't think I'd do that because but the 100 level, depending on what row you're in, if you're like really close, it's $198 a ticket. I was like, good Lord.
Yes.
Now, come on now. You want to be right up against the back of the building like we were at Money in the Bank.
We were talking about that because when we went to the Phantoms game, that's exactly where we were. We were in the last row, pressed up against the sweet boxes.
It just
It's
kind
like,
of
well, you
funny.
don't get much higher than this.
It's
Yeah.
just it's funny for me comparing that. Yeah, when we went to Money in the Bank 2013, I think that was, we were literally in the last row at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Like our backs were literally up against the wall. And when we went to WrestleMania 35 at MetLife Stadium, it wasn't the last row in the stadium because they had like the highest 2 or 3 rows like blocked off or whatever.
Yeah. The
Probably
last
for
two rows.
probably for pyro reasons, but we
Yeah,
were
it
in the
still scared the
last
shit
row
out
that
of
you
me.
could sit in. So
Well, and that's and no offense to our friend AJ, but this is why I will never let him pick tickets for me ever again in regards, because he will get the dirt cheap tickets. Well, dirt cheap, the least amount of the least costing ticket is that last row,
and the funny
and
thing about it was I don't
and
remember which one of
he
those two things it
is
was, but
okay
he
with that.
assured me it wasn't going to be the
I am
last
not.
row. Yeah, for one of those two events, though, he like had assured me it wasn't going to be the last row. I don't remember which one.
Probably
it
Money
was.
in the Bank.
And then it was, and I was just like, well, what the hell are you going to do? I'm here now.
Yeah. Can't
Probably
change it
was
now.
Money in the Bank because you know how wonderful those seats are in those stadiums, in those arenas.
Yeah.
Not only are you sitting in a very tight space, but it's also like you're feeling like you're falling out of your seat because they're so inclined.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I just don't like, I've done that enough where I've sit in the nosebleeds for certain games and wrestling events where I just don't want to do that anymore.
No,
So yeah, you got to pay a little bit more to sit closer, but I'd rather do that for certain events I really want to go to just because the experience is better. I don't feel like looking at the Jumbotron, watching something. If I'm looking at the Jumbotron, that's like me sitting at home watching it on TV. So to me, that's at a certain point, you can only do that so many
oh,
times.
that doesn't go outside, dude.
But yeah, I think nowadays anything with tickets, man, it just sucks because the tickets could be like, $70 for the ticket, but then you're paying like $60 in fees from Ticketmaster or SeatGeek or whatever it is, and that
Yeah.
makes the tickets like astronomically ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
so
that's the part that sucks.
No, I don't want you to take.
it's a complete scam. It just is.
Yeah, that's the horrible part about it.
I remember it was like, I remember it was kind of like the same way where it's like, how like airlines charge you for things that they never used to charge you for. And I tried to have an argument with somebody like once about how it was a scam and everything. And they go, well, it's really not because blah, blah, blah. I said, they didn't charge for it before. you know.
Yeah, it's their way of just making an extra buck for
Yeah.
whatever their ridiculous reason is for doing it. The thing about the Flyers, though, it's crazy is that, my work is the processor for the Philadelphia Flyers and that stadium in general. So like we get comp tickets for that. So if I was living up there, I'd be able to get comp tickets and we can go watch the Flyers versus the Blackhawks.
You go to a Flyers Rangers game and I wear my Rangers hoodie, and
And
I'm
then
sure
people
that
pee
won't
on
be a
you.
problem.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Never.
not at all.
We're talking
Probably
about
have
Philadelphia
probably
here.
have 7 people pour beer on you.
Not in a very kind, warm-hearted city like Philadelphia. The city, the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I know Philly gets a bad rap, and I was sending messages to you guys about the wonderful Yankees fans and how they were acting and stuff like that. So we know we're very well aware. That's the wording, that fans of every team are kind of idiotic at some point in time. It's just a level. What is the level of idiocy that will come from a particular fan? And I will say this about Philly fans of any sports team: there are certain teams that there is just an inherent rivalry that they just are like, if you are this fan, please don't come to our stadium because you will probably get harassed. And not that that's the right thing to do, but it is a very well known fact. Like, if you
Yeah.
are a Dallas Cowboys fan and you go to an Eagles game, you are probably going to hear it. Or a Giants fan. Washington fans, not so much because Washington's not really usually hasn't been that good for a very long time. So, but Giants or Cowboys, you're probably going to hear it from somebody. Same with like Rangers. Rangers is another one of those teams I feel like for the Flyers fans that you're going to hear. Pittsburgh is definitely one of those teams that you're going to hear from because
Oh, yeah.
they hate Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's always been better. Well, I shouldn't say always been better. They've historically been better than the Flyers. Sixers, I don't feel like there's any team because Sixers fans just don't really care. I
They
can't think
just
of a team that the Sixers fans are like, get the hell out of our stadium.
they
You know?
just randomly talk shit on anybody they can just because they need to at that point.
Yeah, they're just like, we suck so bad.
We'll just
who's
harass
worse than
everybody.
us?
For sure.
So, but yeah, it's one of those things. And Phillies fans, it's Mets. Like, I hate Mets fans. I really do. Like, please don't travel down to Philadelphia and be assholes.
They're just giving it back to you, that's all. So,
Like, there's a reason I don't travel to other teams' stadiums. Like, I just don't want to deal with the fans that are going to be the same way as the Philadelphia fans to me if I show up to support my team at your stadium. So,
There was a Yankees White Sox game that Joe, his wife, myself, AJ, and his ex-wife went to, but way back in it was 2006, and we were in the bleachers, and there was this.
with the bleacher creatures.
Well, no, those are the right field bleachers. We were in like the left center bleachers. There was this group of guys who were like sitting in front of us who were just being completely obnoxious the whole game, and I just wanted to slap the hell out of them.
yeah, they were being just super.
Because they were being annoying.
Yeah,
That was the thing. It wasn't like they were like they weren't being like funny. They weren't being like they were being fucking annoying.
they were just ignorant. And then they were they had no idea. They thought the White Sox played in Wrigley. There was just a lot of just
Yeah,
I remember you guys telling me about that.
just
White Sox played in Wrigley Field. Wrong team.
just stupidity, so
I had
like,
the opportunity to sit in the bleachers, but I sat in the right field bleachers with the bleacher creatures.
Yeah.
When that was still a thing. I think it's still kind of a thing, but it's
still
not
is.
as.
Yeah, it still is at the new stadium because obviously 2006 was the old stadium that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But
when me and Pat went to a White Sox game the one time, we sat in the right field bleachers and we didn't
no, we
have
weren't in the
any
right
issue.
field bleachers.
Where
Those
were we? Were
We were
in
we were in the left field bleachers again. This was
Where
at the
were
new
we?
stadium though because that was 2009.
Yeah, because I know we went to the game at the new stadium.
Yeah, it was 2009.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a left field. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
left field. We had no issues that day. It was just we got beat up, but other than that, we had no issues with fans that day.
We went to a game. It was a kind of a rainy-ish day. It was like a slight drizzle and everything. The Yankees won pretty decisively, and the game was started for the Yankees by a guy who is now serving 50 years in prison for murdering a 2-year-old.
Fantastical.
Yeah, Sergio Mitre. He made what was probably his best start ever for the Yankees in that particular game. And yeah, a couple years ago, he was convicted for murdering his girlfriend's 22-month-old daughter.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy for all the wrong reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
Terrible people, no matter where they are in stature of life.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. There was like several months ago, I found like a YouTube video. They were saying about like it was like something like baseball players who were horrible people or something like that. And I can't remember who all who was on this list. I'd have to find the video again now. But I remember just making in a comment said, sadly, you could do an entire video in this just about guys who played for the Yankees who did this because between like Sergio Mitre and Chad Curtis and John Wetland, and a few other people who are escaping me right now for whatever reason. Oh, Mel Hall. Yeah, you can find some guys, and it's not like a thing because they played for the Yankees. It's that they happen to play for the Yankees, who did some pretty fucking horrible things in life. So,
yeah,
I think we
it
should.
is one of those things.
We have about 45 minutes left. And I think we should hop on the Uncle Dave train.
oh God, yeah, I forgot. I forgot I said I wanted to do this.
Oh, I know you. Oh, you did? I'm surprised.
Well,
I
because
before we
I've
do that,
slept since then, and sometimes I forget things like that overnight.
Before we do that, I think we need to go down the political rabbit hole.
No, I don't think we do.
I'm just gonna say this. I don't want to We're not going to talk about the election and who won and who because we're not going to discuss who voted for who and everything because that's not important.
Hey, I'll just say I'm glad I'm not seeing the fucking ads on YouTube anymore.
Yes, I am so
The
happy not to
text
have political
messages,
ads.
the emails,
Mhm.
God, the
Oh,
ads
I'm
on
still getting the
TV.
emails. I'm still getting the emails,
I
but
started blocking them. I started
Yeah.
blocking
So
the emails.
the thing that I find interesting, and I think it would have been this way regardless of who won the election, but is the people that are posting on social media that if you voted for X person, I no longer will be your friend. I hate you. You're this. You're that. And it's like, really, do we have to be this way just because a certain person won? I understand that you do not like that person, but if I voted for that person, does that change the kind of person that I am? Like, I'm still the same person I went to bed with the same kind of person that I went to bed as the night before, as I woke up the next day, regardless of who I voted for. I'm
You
still
tend,
my same person. I don't get why people have to be so hateful, regardless of who you voted for and regardless of who won the election. Like, and I said, I think it would have been either way,
yeah,
whoever won. There would
it
have been
doesn't
hate
make a
from the
difference.
other group.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty terrible that we've gotten to this point. And I'm gonna get a little bit up on a soapbox here. It's because unfortunately the guy who won has said some of the most divisive, hateful things that any political candidate ever has said in this country.
I'm not going to disagree with
That's
that.
that's what the divisiveness has come from. I'm not going to say to somebody who voted for Trump, I don't want anything to do with you again, unless they give me a reason to, for the reasons they voted for Trump. There was a person who I worked with at T-Mobile years ago who, several years back now on Facebook,
Yeah.
got involved in some discussions with me and other people, and she just said some of the dumbest, worst things that were like also like hateful. She was like openly mocking certain people and everything. And I told her, I said, if you keep this up, I'm gonna fucking block you. And she kept it up, so I blocked her. It wasn't because that she was a Trump supporter or anything. It was because of the reason that she supported Trump and the shit that she herself was saying. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to deal with you for saying those things. And I think you should
Hmm.
probably be able to understand. It's like if you're going to say, well, I voted for Trump because I think he's going to do better on the economy, or I think he's going to do better on, keeping us at peace. It's like, I'm going to disagree with you on those issues, but I'm not going to look at those issues as being reasons to say, I don't want anything to do with you again. We can still talk about those things.
Right.
If you're going to say, I want to vote for Trump because like he's gonna strip protections for gay people, or he's gonna just round up all the illegals and start using like certain types of language. That's where I'm going to draw the line and say, no, fuck you. I don't want anything to do with you. That's
Yeah.
just the way it comes down to me. It depends upon the reasons for which, because yes, we can still have disagreements about shit in this country as far as policy and this, that, and the other thing that don't need to result in, fuck you, I'm gonna. That's not helpful for two reasons. One, because you just get ingrained in your own goddamn rabbit hole, and
Touchdown.
you're not gonna. Yeah, I just saw it kind of behind your window here. Um, you're not gonna be able to get out of it then. And then two, if you're just gonna go into that rabbit hole, you're not gonna hear the other side, so you're not gonna have any consideration for it. It's like I don't agree with like the arguments that I hear from the Republicans, the conservative side, and everything like that. But I can listen to their issues if they don't pepper it up by with the way that say like the assholes that you see on Fox News do, where they're like so like gleeful about like Jesse Waters the other day is like, it's gonna be great watching these mass deportations. They're fucking human beings.
Yeah, that's like
Ignorance is
yeah,
bliss,
that's just
and
that's just so ignorant. Like I think I think there's an agreement about illegal immigration that everybody agrees on. It definitely needs to be controlled, and there definitely needs to be better policies, or at least the policies that are in place enforced. You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, it's been a failure of like every administration for a
right?
while now. Like this isn't like something that Biden created. It's not something that Trump created. It's like it's been a failure of like every policy because it's a once again, I think it's this. Who's the failure on? The failure is on us because we don't elect people who are seriously addressing the issue.
Yeah,
And that therein, of course, always lies the problem. So
yeah. So
yeah.
but to go on any news channel and say that is just ridiculous.
Jesse Waters, I'm sorry, like most people on Fox News, he's just such a little twerp. But
Is he
unfortunately, a lot of fucking people listen to him and think that he's smart. But
is he the
but
younger guy that the younger-ish guy? He's not super young, but he's maybe
he looks
late
younger.
30s, 40s.
Yeah, he used to be Bill O'Reilly's like hitman. Um, Jesse
That's funny.
Waters is 46. Yeah. But seriously, he when O'Reilly was still on Fox, Jesse Waters was the guy who
Yeah,
and
that's the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah, that guy's a
yeah,
turd.
yeah. Bill O'Reilly had this policy because he was also essentially a celebrity at that point about, oh, I understand why people harass celebrities. It's not fair. It's they're probably not. But he would send Jesse Waters out to interview to not even interview to ambush average citizens who were say in bureaucratic jobs or something like this or something where they're trying to do gotcha shit. Waters was the guy who was out there holding stick in the microphone, literally running up to these people in the street and ambushing them, saying, "Why did you?" So Jesse Waters is a fuck nut. All right, so
Yeah, I don't like to listen to him as far as because he does do that shit on purpose, fuel the flame of hatred
it's
and
it's race
stupidity.
baiting. It's pure and simple race baiting.
Yeah.
So,
So, all right, but
Ignorance is
that's all.
bliss and
That's all I
common
wanted to
sense
say
is
but
not
but
about.
no,
common.
I do fundamentally agree with you. I said the reason that to say oh, I'm not going to talk to you because, again, if there's a legitimate reason, like I said, they're using racist or bigoted or sexist language or something like that, dude, I totally get that. But if the reason for having voted for Trump again is, but let's say, especially if there's say somebody who voted for Obama and then voted for Trump in 2016 and then voted for Biden 4 years ago, but then went back to voting for Trump this year, you got to try to figure out why is it they voted for Trump those 2 years and not for Hillary or Kamala? There's got to be a good reason. Those are the reasons you need to look at. You can't just dismiss that person automatically as being a bigot or something like that.
Yeah.
Chances are some of them are. The loudest voices on that side are, and whether it's the people that you see on Fox News or the people that you get on these podcasts, like the fucking Tim Pools and Nick Fuenteses and Charlie Kirks and Ben Shapiro's or whoever the fuck it is, obviously those people unfortunately have a lot of influence. But again, you can't just dismiss the average person. It's let's say, I'll try to wrap this up. Let's say somebody said, "Oh, I voted for Trump because I think he's going to do better on the economy. He's going to bring prices down." I don't think that's going to happen, especially if Trump implements all these tariffs that he's talking about, because we're going to be the ones paying that. So let's say 4 years the economy hasn't gotten markedly better. Now I have no fucking idea who the candidates are going to be in 4 years, but it's is that person going to switch back to voting for the Democrat because the economy is still shit?
Maybe, maybe not.
The fact of the matter is that if the economy is bad or people perceive the economy to be bad, because I think that's what the situation is right now, more than people perceive the economy to be bad more than it is bad. Whoever's in power is going to pay the consequences, essentially. That's why George H.W. Bush lost to Clinton back in 1992. It's one of the reasons why John McCain had no chance of beating Barack Obama, because of the way the economy tanked in 2008.
Oh, yeah, true.
So
I will say this though: in 4 years, I am super excited to possibly have two brand new candidates as my possible choices. Because
you'll have a brand new candidate for the Democrats. You won't have a brand new candidate for the Republicans, because assuming that nothing, well, not even assuming, JD Vance is obviously going to be the front runner for 2028 since he'll be the sitting vice president or the incumbent president.
Well, he can't.
Because Trump could drop dead in the next 4 years.
Well, yeah, okay. I get where you say the incumbent president.
Yeah. Trump could drop dead in the next 4 years. He's 70 fucking 8.
Yeah, no, he could. But yeah, so it'll be interesting, but I'm interested to see where we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if things
I want to
change,
see primaries on both
better or
sides to
worse.
see who's going to throw their names in the hat to try to run for president.
Well, yeah, there definitely will be a Democratic primary this time.
And I hope that there is and I hope when this starts, I hope there's a Republican primary. I hope there's a Democratic primary, because I want to have choices. As part of the democratic process. Give us choices and let us pick the best choice for our party.
Even if Vance intends to run for president, and he's the sitting vice president, I think there probably will still be somewhat of a Republican primary process. That's my guess. Now,
I hope so because I'm registered Republican, so I want to at least be
yeah,
able to voice my opinion in regards to what candidate they throw up there.
right. See, so that's the thing. It's like they could just like cave in, and nobody really mounts like a serious challenge to Vance, much like how there was that one guy who was challenging Biden back during the Democratic primary process, but nobody took it seriously for a lot of reasons. But yeah, we'll see.
Because this
there's definitely
election, I felt
there's
like I went in and I closed my eyes and I picked a candidate.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
that's
'cause, I
not
mean,
really what I did, but I felt like I was
there's
doing that.
definitely still candidates on the Republican side at the very least, so I know still have presidential aspirations. I know Ron DeSantis still wants to be president.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a great choice or anything, but I could definitely see him challenging Vance in
I
2028.
feel like he's more
even though
extreme than Trump
I
is.
think DeSantis won't be in office anymore because I think his term as governor ends in 2 years, but I could be wrong on that. And I don't feel like
I feel as a candidate he's more extreme than Trump is in regards to his policies and
yeah,
stuff.
DeSantis is very similar to Trump, but and he's as willing to say as many like hateful things without using like the hateful language. Like he's better at like cloaking it than Trump is. So
Something about that statement just doesn't sound right.
yeah.
But I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, but he didn't come out and say like something horrible. So yeah, it's like yeah. But
So
anyway.
for our show, we're going to say this: we don't care who you voted for, we still love you no matter what.
Yes, and if you, I'm just happy to see people. I'm happy to see people vote. You know, it's like that's.
Yeah.
I mean, that for one thing, higher voter turnout generally means better results for the Democrats. As much as I have my issues with the Democrats as a party, but no, I think everybody should get out and vote because it's the only way you really have to be able to influence and everything. Or as Fred Dalton Thompson said in one episode of Law and Order when he was the district attorney, democracy is still the worst form of government there is, except for all the others.
All right. Let's hear your Dave rant.
All right. So,
Yeah, because now you have 30 minutes.
I had no advanced intention of doing this up until some stuff I was reading on yesterday. So, good old Uncle Dave.
Yay, Uncle Dave.
He just loves to make a fool out of himself.
You are a fool, sir.
Now, we've criticized Meltzer and other people in the wrestling business, or at the very least, the wrestling podcast verse, have been very critical of Meltzer for a long time now for saying that he's basically a shill for AEW.
Yes,
Some people have accused him of owning a piece of AEW. No idea if that's true. Of course, it's a private entity. You'll never know. I kind of doubt it just because I don't think Tony Khan, I mean, like supposedly WBD owns a small piece in AEW. That I can understand because they're a huge, big media conglomerate and everything. But I can't see how Tony Khan would have given a piece of the company to fucking Dave Meltzer.
I don't think that's true. So
I can't buy that one. Yeah. So,
no.
But so this past week, NXT was not on Tuesday night. They decided they didn't want to go up against the election. Probably not a bad decision. They did the special show from the ECW, from the old ECW arena. They had ECW people appear, like the Dudley Boys, and I think RVD was on the show too. I didn't watch it because I don't watch NXT. But so they, on not their regular night, were going up against AEW on their regular night. It was Wednesday. NXT did a better rating. Okay. Uncle Dave went into overdrive trying to say that AEW really won because one, and this is all on his Twitter, and I'm not going to recount every single fucking tweet because he was getting into endless arguments with people about this to the point where it's to the point where it was like, Dave, maybe you should get the fuck off Twitter. He basically said, well, if you take into account the fact that the CW is available in more households than TBS, and you look at just the 18 to 39 or 18 to 49 rating, which is what people really look at, then AEW won 0.39 to 0.38.
It's so dumb.
If you have to jump through that many goddamn hoops to brag that show A beat show B by 0.01. What are you doing? What are you doing? There's absolutely no way in hell that anybody can look at that and think that you're being in any way objective.
Nope.
And again, it's like if this was the first time he was doing something like this, my reaction would probably be, that's a little strange. It seems like he's going out of his way to say AEW did better. But this isn't the first time. It's not the second time. It's not the 100th time
Nope.
at this point that he's bent over backwards, twisted himself into a pretzel to defend AEW in some way, shape, or form. It's at the point now where it's gotten to be really fucking embarrassing. And it's why people speculate that he owns a piece of the company, because it's like he can't let the smallest detail go without going out of his way to defend the company. And again, I'm not attacking AEW here. I'm really honestly not.
No, it's a Dave Meltzer thing. He's just put his.
This is the thing about Meltzer. It's like if AEW puts on a show and that's all they do, that's all they do. Their ratings have been going down for a while. But at the same time, AEW's ratings don't really matter right now. They have their deal. So they're fine. I don't know if the deal is really going to make them profitable, like Meltzer also claims. We have no way of knowing that because nobody knows what their books are. I still kind of doubt it because I think Tony Khan will just end up spending more money now that he's got the deal and everything. I mean, I don't know what exactly he's going to spend it on, just overpaying his own guys. And again, great for them. Great for them. Glad guys are getting making money off wrestling. But it's like, I don't know what free agents are. It's like Becky Lynch isn't going to go to AEW.
No.
I'm 50-50 on Kevin Owens going to AEW. But it's like,
I still don't think so.
I just don't see what kind of impact Kevin Owens would make, or what huge difference Kevin Owens would make by going to AEW. You know, because what difference did Sasha Banks make? What difference did Okada make? What difference? Well, Osprey again, I could kind of say, because Osprey I think is one of the few guys that is on that show right now that I would say actually is a ratings draw. But what did Edge do? What's Moxley doing right now that's really helping the ratings? You know, so just on and on and on with NXT. I don't know what the Hurt Syndicate's going to do for ratings because, quite frankly, this is one thing I will 1000% agree with AJ on. I've never gotten it with Bobby Lashley. He looks great, but I've never thought he was a great worker, and I've definitely never thought he was a great mic guy. So, you know, and it's again, you know, MVP can have his issues with Triple H all he wants, saying that Triple H dropped the ball with him. I didn't think they were that great, to be honest, with what they were doing in WWE. And now AEW is just recycling it. So
we'll see what happens.
The other problem is, of
tried to
course,
make
with
it
the
work, but it
stable, you
really
need to
didn't.
have somebody to oppose. And it's like, is he going to oppose Swerve? Okay. A Swerve Lashley match may actually be interesting. It could, really. But
it could. 100%.
but again, it's like Bobby Lashley just doesn't excite me. So anyway, so Meltzer just was going back and forth. And like I said, if you want to go check out his Twitter page, just see some of the discussions he was having with people. It's amazing. And, you know, he always claims that he's seen these internal things from TBS or whatever. And it's like, that's great that he can say that. But if you ever ask him to prove it, he would say, well, I can't post those things. They're confidential. It's like, then why did you get to see them?
Yeah, pretty much. Why are you getting access to something that's confidential?
You
It
know,
makes no sense. His journalism is off the wall, and it's just it's not
Right.
journalism. It hasn't been journalism for a long time, but it's getting so worse.
He's
His posts about stuff that has been lies and fake news, and you know, people posting shit and baiting him, thinking that it's real, and he's falling for all of it.
that spreadsheet thing. Yeah, but like he's basically being 1991 heel Jake Roberts. Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. You know.
Yeah, trust everything he says. But
and the funny thing is, with what he's been doing, it kind of mirrors what's happened with real journalism, in that the landscape has shifted. Nobody seems to trust the traditional media sources anymore, which have rules, which have standards. But they say that they believe what they heard on this podcast, where numbnuts can say whatever the fuck he wants, and he doesn't have to have any proof. He doesn't have to support it. He doesn't have to verify it. You know, so you know, I could say whatever the fuck I want in this podcast, and if somebody could, some person watching could go say, "Oh, well, I heard, but blah blah blah," and they could get spread. And God only fucking knows that what I said was truthful anyway. So
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. So, but this is the main point that I wanted to make. Meltzer's a piece of shit. Okay? So, in case you don't know, Dutch Mantel, longtime wrestler, wrestling manager in
Yeah.
WWE. He's in his stints at WWE. He was, Uncle Zebekiah, and then of course he was Zeb Coulter with Jack Swagger, and then later with Alberto Del Rio. He's been dealing with some health issues. He's in his 70s.
Serious health issues as well.
Yeah, he's had some really serious health issues, and his wife. And unfortunately, it sounds like they've burned through their savings, burned through what their insurance coverage allows, which sounds like it kind of sucks. So they started like a GoFundMe for it, and I guess they or like his daughter did,
Yeah, his daughter did.
and I guess they've raised a good amount of money for it.
A little over 90,000.
And Dave had to post on his newsletter, on his insider newsletter that he had to pay for, but it circulated, of course. And I'm going to read the highlighted portion that was featured on that got reposted on the official Cult of Cornette page. They had raised $64,200, with most of the top donors being anonymous, and the largest known donors were Tony Khan at $5,000 and Chris Jericho at $1,500. Bravo to them for donating, because they don't have to.
Yep.
With Khan, many have pointed out that Mantel as a podcaster was brutal to Khan, even being critical of him when the promotion was at its popularity peak, and recently criticized him for the contract terms Swerve Strickland got in his recent deal. It is something when a former wrestler gets mad at a promoter who clearly can afford it for what he pays the top talent. And he was doing it after he knew the new deal was put together that was going to make the company exceedingly profitable. Wrestlers using the old school "he doesn't draw money" and not understanding that this isn't a mom and pop week to week business based on live event numbers, but one that in a worst case scenario year would generate $250 million next year. And most of that revenue is guaranteed ahead of time. Now, for 200 points, Alex, what is so infuriating about everything he just said?
He's taking a dump on Dutch Mantel.
Exactly. He is using the situation to discuss about how Dutch Mantel is having serious health issues and how people have been donating to him, to point out how great Tony Khan and Chris Jericho were for donating to it, and then for taking Dutch Mantel to task for criticizing AEW. And I'm not the only person that was mad about this. I got mad after I read about it and everything, but a lot of other people got pissed off at this. Like I said, people were reposting this on the official Cult of Cornette page, and some people pointed out Jim Cornette donated $5,000 to this. But apparently that happened after Dave made his post. So Dave didn't bother to go back and look at everything. But the person that it really pissed off, as Joe knows, and I don't know if you saw it, Jeremy, was Dutch Mantel's co-host on his podcast, whose name I do not remember, unfortunately. But he posted a 20-minute video, which he said was the second time he had to do it, because the first time his mic was on mute, so it wasn't recording.
That sucks.
He was like going through this same screenshot, like this same comments, and talking about like everything that Dutch or that Meltzer got wrong about what Dutch had said. He pointed out that like even being critical of him when the promotion was at its popularity peak, as Dutch's co-host pointed out, they weren't paying attention to AEW when it was at its popularity peak. They were already on this long prolonged downside that they've been on when they started talking about AEW with any kind of regularity. Talking about he was doing it after he knew the new deal was put together. Again, he was like, Dutch's co-host took issue with that, saying that we didn't know there was a new deal put together unless you believed all like the rumors and conjecture and everything about it.
There were so many rumors, and there was 5 different like deals that were being sent out. So who knew what the real deal was?
And it was trickling out so slow, and Tony Khan kept making comments about it too. So, but nobody knew what the exact terms of the deal were.
Yeah.
Until it was officially announced. And again, they weren't criticizing like Swerve for getting that contract, so it just
criticizing Tony Khan for being willing to do a contract like that.
Yeah, I think he was criticizing Tony Khan for saying that, oh, like not so much like, oh, he doesn't draw money, but like the scales, he's breaking the scale or whatever the case might be.
Well, here's the ultimate thing. Whether Uncle Dave wants to believe it or not, yes, it is not the same old days where guys get paid based on how much money they bring into the house. Those days are long gone. We know that. At least in the big organizations. But there is still a thing called drawing money. Like, it still exists. Like, people go to shows for the sole purpose of seeing a particular wrestler or
Yep.
wrestlers.
Yep.
And that's where he doesn't draw comes from still. Because if you are irrelevant on the card, people are not coming to see you, which means you are not a draw for people to come to that show and put asses in the seat.
And you will
Which
know.
is where companies make their money from. They make it from putting the asses in the seat and then getting people to buy the merchandise while their asses are there.
And the fans
So
tell
if
you
you-
who's drawing and who's not.
Right. So the fact
Yeah.
that Uncle Dave wants to believe that that is a old term and that kind of doesn't exist anymore is ridiculous because it still exists. It will always exist.
Mhm.
That's why NBA teams have superstars on their team because people want to come see those superstars play. And that's why people get so pissed off especially at the NBA when they have load restrictions and guys are like, "Oh, this guy should be playing." You go to the game and like, "Oh, Joel Embiid's not playing. I came to see Joel Embiid play." You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah,
Idiots.
again, it's not the wrestling business is not so much a live event business anymore because the house show business is pretty much non-existent at this point. I mean, AEW hasn't been running house shows, and when they tried to, they sucked. WWE is scaling back on house shows. But there is still, the attendance figures at your TV shows, your ratings, and again, somebody said, well, the ratings are antiquated. Well, yeah, they might be, but they still are the best way that you really have. I don't know how much you can base it on, like, oh, this is how many views this video got when it was uploaded to YouTube. But I'm sure that's still going to have a close correlation with the TV ratings and shit. But yeah, it's like also about who's moving the merch. That's all you're really going to have to base this shit off of. So it may not be a live event business, but it's still about what people are doing, where they're going, and where they're spending their money. And you can still easily track that to see which guys it is who are the ones that are doing that. And it's not Dave's favorites. And he doesn't seem to be capable of dealing with that.
Yeah, and it's his friendship with certain people, I think, has blinded his judgment on what he should be doing in his position.
Yeah.
And
It-
his
it-
credibility has tanked a lot in the past year and a half. And especially, 2024, it tanked a shit ton with him not doing proper journalism. A lot of the things that he was posting that was actually fake, believing people he shouldn't. His star rating is just, to me, it's a joke anymore. Like
Yep.
when you can
Mhm.
sit there and say someone who has a 4 3/4 matches still could be up for match of the year when you've given like 28 fucking 5-star or 5-star plus matches out in a single year. It's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the credibility's not there, and like people aren't taking him serious anymore.
Yeah.
He's going to have his loyal fan base, which is fine because that's just how things work. But as far as him being credible, it's long gone for me.
Yeah. His star ratings became absolutely meaningless once. And I'm just talking about the ones from the point that he did it going forward, not so much the historical ones. Though, of course, we can raise a lot of issues with some of the matches that he didn't give like 5 stars to, or some of the wrestlers he never gave like really high ratings to. But as soon as he rated a match above 5 stars, his entire rating system became meaningless because he changed the scale. No matter what he wants to say, he changed the scale. And like you just said, and it was what Dutch's co-host was saying, a 4 3/4 star match can't be a match of the year contender if you rated however many matches it was above 5 stars. Because I think he said it was I remember he said it was 28 or 22 or something like that
Yeah.
were like above
It was in the
5
high
stars.
20s.
Yeah. So it's like, how can something that's below 22 matches be a match of the year contender?
Makes sense to me.
N-
You
yeah,
gotta run the
really.
numbers. If you don't know how to
Nobody,
math,
nobody
it's
says
not
the
my
guy
problem.
who finished. Nobody says that the guy who finished 23rd in the MLB MVP voting was an MVP contender.
Oh
You
shit,
know,
what was I just gonna say?
especially because finishing 23rd in the MVP voting means that you got like a seventh place vote, an eighth place vote. You know.
Hmm?
Do you know where the bathroom
Yeah,
is?
I do, but I'm not getting it out right
Yeah. The other problem is
this isn't a
that
tournament. This is like, I don't know.
one of the things that I saw on Meltzer's Twitter when I was paging through it, because he talked about, well, if you were working at TBS, you'd be fine with this or blah blah blah. And somebody replied to him, if you were working for TBS, you would have. Oh, here it is. Yeah, if you worked at TBS, you wouldn't be working there for long. Meltzer's reply was, imagine saying that to someone who has kept their job for 42 straight years. You employ yourself.
Yes, that is.
You haven't
really-
worked for somebody else for 42 straight years. Look, it's great that you've been in business for yourself for 42 straight years. That's fantastic. A lot of people can't do that. But
Correct.
what you're saying does not apply to what he was saying, because when you're working at TBS, you're working for someone else. You have
Yep.
someone else to report to.
That's awesome.
Yes, there's
Imagine-
plenty of struggles with keeping your own business going and everything like that. I'm well aware of that. But it's not the same thing, because if you failed at one business, you could go try another one on your own.
I think he should fire himself.
And the other thing too is like,
Dave, we have to have a talk. I'm going to have to let you go. Oh, but Dave, I've been doing such a great job. Dave, have you been listening to yourself lately?
and the other guy in his he does the podcast with Alvarez. Like Alvarez takes, I don't agree with him a lot of the time, but he takes a lot of grief from Meltzer too, and I'm surprised he still deals with that shit
Yeah,
because I think it's ridiculous.
I'm not a huge Alvarez fan either for several reasons, but Cornette and Last have talked about it quite a few times, where like anytime like Meltzer and Alvarez get into like a really big argument, like they got into one about how like AEW's overruns doesn't get recorded by a lot of DVRs unless you set it to record the next program, or this, that, the other thing.
That's every goddamn program.
Yeah. And Meltzer kept saying, well, that's your responsibility. And like Alvarez is like, I shouldn't have to do that, because if they're gonna say this is when their show is on, that's when their show should be on. But it was fun. It was funny then, because Meltzer gets so condescending, and like Last has imitated it, where Meltzer just starts going, Brian, Brian, Brian.
I just want to punch him in the face because I think it's just such ignorance from his part.
Yeah, so it is kind of amazing that Alvarez is still putting up with it. I guess the financial benefit makes it worth it, I guess. I don't know. But so yeah, it's like there's other people out there who do this wrestling journalism. And I use that term very loosely, which is why I did the air quotes, because it's not journalism in the traditional sense, in the proper sense. But there's other people who do it better than Meltzer at this point. We just seem to treat Meltzer like he's this institution just because he's been doing it for so goddamn long. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, it gets to the point with everybody where time passes you by, where the industry passes you by, where you become irrelevant. I know it's a shit feeling, but it happens. And Meltzer is past his expiration date at this point. I wish we would stop
expired
talking
milk.
about him, but it's like every time he does something that I find offensive or just like really stupid or just so blatantly obvious or hypocritical, I just feel the need to point it out. Maybe the problem lies with me and I need to just shut up about Uncle Dave going forward.
If you stop talking about him, he'll stop existing.
Yeah, that
Well,
definitely won't fucking happen. That's for
There
sure.
was some movie that was like that, where it was like this like magical entity, and it was like, well, if nobody remembers her, she'll just fade into oblivion, or something like that. I can't remember what that was now though. But that's what happened at the end. They like the hero was like, "We forget you," and like they all like turned her back on her, and she like faded. It was like she's like, "No, no." That was magic shit though. So it's like.
Oh yeah.
So
It just-
that was the Uncle Dave rant. Again, he used the occasion of somebody's very serious health issues
Yeah.
to highlight how great two people who a lot of people are critical of for a lot of valid reasons, and Tony Khan and Chris Jericho, to say how great they were for having donated, not pointing out anybody else who donated, like Cornette, who he's got major issues with now, and then used it to criticize the guy who's got the serious health issues because he dared criticize somebody who's now graciously giving him $5,000.
Yeah, and I think if Tony Khan had an issue with that, he would have given him $5,000. So
Yeah, to Tony, I'm very critical of Tony Khan for a lot of things. One thing I can't say is that he's a total jerk. I think that deep down, Tony Khan is a nice guy, or he wants to be a nice guy, or he wants people to think he's a nice guy.
I think he is. He
I
just
have
doesn't.
those doubts about rich people sometimes like that, but he does do it, and he doesn't have to. So there's that. You know.
I mean, I just think at the end of the day, like Uncle Dave adds fuel to the fire for the tribalism between the AEW fans and the WWE fans by what he does, says, and posts.
Mhm.
Really,
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
really is.
I mean, at the very least, the one thing I could say about him along those lines, I can't recall seeing Meltzer being one of the people who decries the tribalism. Because somebody who decries the tribalism and then fuels it is, like the worst kind of person there is. But I can't really say I've ever seen Meltzer saying, well, why can't everybody just get along? At least he doesn't do that and then acts why everybody can't get along. So
No, 100%. It's just frustrating. That's why I try to pay little attention to him as possible. Like I'll check out his ratings when a pay-per-view or premium live event has been going on and see what he gives them because it's a lot of favoritism anymore with him it's been like that for a long time.
yeah, I think the only times I'm ever going to look at his star ratings going forward are under two circumstances. One, to see what he gives WWE shows because I know he's always going to
Yeah.
temper his WWE enthusiasm. Though I think he's been fair enough recently with some of the stuff that I've seen.
For the most part.
But to hear whenever like Cornette brings it up on his podcast because it's usually in such a mocking manner and it's always about AEW shows, and of course Cornette doesn't share Uncle Dave's, rose tinted glasses view of AEW. So it's pretty funny, like when Last tells Cornette, so this match got 4.5 stars. Oh, for the love of God. It's just funny to listen to Cornette get like, what the hell is he watching? God damn.
Yeah. I just don't like the fact that he used someone's sickness to shit on them and do it in that type of manner.
Yeah,
that's just classless.
It's unsavory.
Yeah,
It's just
classless too.
It's like you can't. It's like you couldn't leave well enough alone. It's like, let's say, God forbid, Dutch can't get over these health issues and ends up passing away. When Meltzer starts like writing his obit for his newsletter, is he going to talk about? Is he going to go out of his way to mention about how he was critical of AEW?
Yeah, what's he really going to write if that day happens?
Because if he does, it's like, well, really, go fuck yourself. You're literally kicking dirt on the guy's grave before he's even in it.
Yeah.
Just
100% true. 100%.
What will Meltzer write about Cornette if Cornette goes first?
He'll probably put out like a fucking 10-page article about him.
Right,
be all over the
I
place
wonder how much of
rambling
it's
about
I wonder how much of
craziness.
it's going to be just like the last like 10 years or so, since Cornette's been largely out of wrestling and has just been doing podcasting and everything. And
yeah,
Cornette's
Giving his 1980s takes on everything.
Well, yeah, but no,
according to some people.
According to Cornette, Meltzer started criticizing him because Cornette was being critical of things Meltzer liked. But then Meltzer was trying to still be all buddy-buddy with Cornette behind the scenes. Like, the stuff that's like not like on a podcast or in a newsletter or whatever. Like he's like literally publicly criticizing Cornette and then privately was still trying to like pump Cornette for information or act like they were friends and everything. And Cornette was basically like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
yeah.
And what happened in wrestling this past week? Not much.
No. Evidently,
I guess they've more or less set up the war
original bloodline is going to take on the new bloodline.
Right. So So that's in 3 weeks. So I guess I got to ask, are we going to live cast that?
That's one of the major PLEs, right?
Right.
Correct.
That's why I'm asking. So
Yes.
What day is that?
3 weeks from yesterday. So the 30th.
Saturday, I think.
I don't see why we couldn't.
Let me see if we have like, hold on, if I can spell. I can't remember how to spell Survivor apparently.
So you are not a survivor. You don't
Jiminy
have the soul of
crickets.
I'm a
survivor.
survivor. I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna stop.
Good job, Beyonce.
So if you look at Wikipedia, the only match officially announced for Survivor Series is the men's War Games match, which please don't give us a women's War Games match. There is no need for one this year.
They'll probably give us one anyway.
Well, that doesn't
But
sound
why?
very right.
With who?
Who knows?
They're going to make
Anyway,
something up. They got 3 weeks to come up with a viable reason.
I know they do.
so it's going to be the OG bloodline of Roman, the Usos, and Sammy against the new bloodline of Solo, Jacob, Tama, and Tonga. Not Tama Tonga.
And we'll
but
see. And
Tama
we'll see
Tonga.
who else gets thrown in that match or shows up to try to distract the match results. So on. And so
Well, yeah, obviously there'll be speculation about a Rock appearance again, I'm sure.
on. Of course.
And if his movie that comes out next week tanks at the box office, which it sounds like it's going to, maybe he'll feel like the need that he has to show up and everything.
What is Brahma Bull built?
Yeah, but
Brahma.
I can't see them. I can't see them
Move on
throwing
the
anybody else into this match because it's like they've separated Cody from this enough recently that there's no reason to throw Cody back into this unless they can't come up with a match for Cody for the show, which like no, he could wrestle Owens again for one thing.
Or he just doesn't wrestle at all.
Yeah, which seems weird, but it is a possibility, I guess. But yeah, so I can't really see them putting anybody else in this match to do a 5-on-5. Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do with some of the other stuff. I mean, Rhea's injury is obviously screwing up some shit. So
Damn her.
We have a new U.S. Women's United States belt.
yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. It's like on one hand, it's like okay, you maybe can utilize some of the mid card women a little bit better.
They
But
need to.
on my other hand is there's too many belts, and I don't think the women's division is especially strong or deep right now because you've got a lot of people missing. Becky's MIA, Charlotte's still injured, Rhea is injured again now. I just don't think that the women's roster is incredibly deep at the moment. So
They have opportunities with others, but
you've got
it's-
Bianca and Jade in the tag part of it. So
yeah, like you got others in the mix, but it's if they want to pull the trigger to give them a push.
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest thing.
and did they say like what show that belt's going to be on? Did they say if it was exclusive to one of the two shows or anything like that?
And they made it sound like it was a SmackDown belt.
Yeah. And I feel like Raw has more women right now than SmackDown does. Not saying that like might just be a thing where it's like stronger in numbers, not necessarily quality, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, it depends what they do with the NXT women if whoever they bring up in that aspect too.
Yeah.
But
because
it's,
I don't know, it's like who's your top face woman on Raw right now with Rhea out? Io and Kyrie?
yeah, this kind of seems like who it is. It's kind of odd.
I'm just saying, like this kind of a belt would seem like the thing that if you really think Lyra Valkyria's got something, this would seem like the thing to give to her.
Yeah.
But we'll
100%.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, wrestling's been kind of, nothing exciting, really.
No, it really hasn't. And again, AEW, it's like I'm still not buying into all the Moxley group stuff and the Bucks have run away and whatever. I know Osprey came back on this week's show, so
Yeah, nothing too great or fancy from either
the
company.
biggest the biggest thing was like Lashley showing up and everything, and
Yeah.
it's like okay, whatever.
Lashley just wants that money.
Money. But yeah, other than that, wow, another day of talking about everything but nothing from above and beyond and below and underneath and from behind, reach arounds from this side or that side.
We were talking about this, that, and the other thing.
Correct.
Indeed.
All right.
All
then.
right. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. We're going to wrap this sucker up. put it in a package, give it to you as a present under a tree.
Make sure
Maybe
you
we'll
wrap it
stuff
up,
it into
boys.
turkey. I think we should stuff it into turkey. We'll stuff it into turkey. This one's into turkey.
Yeah.
Turkey.
Wrap it up, boys.
Anyways,
Make sure you
we'll
always
call
wrap it
it
up.
We'll call it a night. Well, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Stay to the end. Hopefully, if you did, that's great. If not, well, too bad anyways. You missed the good stuff. So, yeah, we really do appreciate you guys watching. We have a lot of fun doing this. Some of the topics are good. Some of the topics, maybe you don't like, but hey, it's stuff that we want to talk about, and it's our podcast, so hey, deal with it. With that being said, we thank you for watching, as always, and we hope you finished with us.